Today, we delve into one of the most controversial and debated topics in modern history, the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Was this catastrophic event a part of America's long-term plan? To unravel this, we must explore the intricate web of geopolitical strategy, scientific advancements, and wartime exigencies that culminated in this fateful decision. On August 6, 1945, the world witnessed an unprecedented event when the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the city of Hiroshima, Japan. The blast obliterated the city, killing tens of thousands instantly and causing untold suffering in the days, months, and years that followed. The question that has lingered ever since is, was this attack a premeditated long-term strategy by the United States? The Manhattan Project. To understand this, we must first journey back to the early 1940s. The seeds of the Hiroshima attack were sown with the initiation of the Manhattan Project. This secretive project, launched in 1942, aimed to develop nuclear weapons before Nazi Germany could. The scientific community, including figures like Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer, played pivotal roles. However, the project's massive scale and the enormous resources allocated indicate that the US was preparing for a transformative leap in warfare. Strategic considerations. By mid-1945, Germany had surrendered, but Japan continued to resist fiercely. The Pacific War had dragged on, with brutal battles causing significant American casualties. The US leadership, under President Harry S. Truman, faced the daunting prospect of a prolonged and bloody invasion of Japan. Documents from this period reveal that American strategists were deeply concerned about the potential loss of life and the financial costs of such an invasion. Diplomatic maneuvering. Simultaneously, the US was keenly aware of the emerging geopolitical landscape. The Soviet Union, an ally against Nazi Germany, was rapidly expanding its influence. There was a growing recognition that post-war, the US and the Soviet Union would vie for global dominance. In this context, demonstrating the destructive power of the atomic bomb was not just a military decision, but also a diplomatic maneuver. The US aimed to send a clear message to the Soviet Union about its military supremacy. The Potsdam Conference. The Potsdam Conference, held in July 1945, was crucial. Here, Truman informed Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin about the new weapon, albeit in vague terms. The timing of the Hiroshima bombing, shortly after the conference, suggests that the decision was influenced by more than just the desire to end the war with Japan. It was also about shaping the post-war order and containing Soviet ambitions. The decision to drop the bomb. On July 25, 1945, Truman authorized the use of the atomic bomb. The primary justification presented to the public, and in many historical accounts, was to expedite Japan's surrender and save lives. However, declassified documents and memoirs of key figures reveal a more complex picture. The bombings of Hiroshima and, subsequently, Nagasaki were also seen as a way to solidify American power and influence in the post-war era. Long-term planning. Looking at the broader timeline, it's evident that the US had been preparing for a dominant post-war role long before the bombs were dropped. The establishment of the United Nations, the Bretton Woods Conference, and the Marshall Plan were all part of a strategic vision to create a new world order under American leadership. The atomic bomb was a critical tool in this vision. Moral and ethical considerations. Of course, the ethical dimensions of this decision cannot be ignored. The sheer scale of destruction and the civilian casualties have led many to question the morality of using such a weapon. Critics argue that Japan was already on the brink of surrender and that alternatives, such as a demonstration of the bomb's power or modifying surrender terms, could have been pursued. Japanese surrender and aftermath. Japan surrendered on August 15, 1945, shortly after the bombings. While the bombings undoubtedly influenced this decision, it's important to note that the Soviet Union's declaration of war against Japan also played a significant role. The combined pressure from both fronts left Japan with little choice. Legacy and historical debate. In the decades since, historians and scholars have continued to debate whether the Hiroshima attack was a necessary act to end World War II or a calculated move in America's long-term strategy. The Cold War that followed and the nuclear arms race between the US and the Soviet Union underscored the profound impact of this decision. The Hiroshima attack was a multifaceted decision shaped by immediate wartime needs and long-term strategic considerations. While it undeniably hastened the end of World War II, it also marked the beginning of a new era of nuclear geopolitics. The legacy of Hiroshima serves as a somber reminder of the devastating power of nuclear weapons and the complex interplay of military strategy and moral responsibility. As we reflect on this pivotal moment in history, let us strive for a world where such weapons are never used again, and where peace and diplomacy guide our actions.